Guys, quick update on the Talon for you. So we took it out to Canaveral Groves yesterday, beat the crap out of it, hydroplaned it, went through some mud, deep water, you name it, we did it. Way less hiccups in the first trip. I only had the transmission do the thing where it clunked and popped and grinded into gear twice, and by the transmission I mean the sub-transmission down there. Adjusting the shift linkage right here seems to have fixed that issue. It's very sensitive. I moved it a couple millimeters and that seems to have fixed the issue. I did have it not go into low range one time, and it was my fault. I didn't pull the shifter all the way back into the low slot and hold it there for a second. So that's the problem with this shift gate is you end up like hunting around. It's like that if you're in a bind trying to get from reverse to low real quick or something, that's when you mess up. So I ordered this shift gate. It's made by EXE or something. It was like 40 bucks. It's do the same positions, but the benefit is you can go straight from reverse to low and straight from reverse to high. So no hunting around and less chance of you fumbling it up and hurting your sub transmission. So I'm installing that right now. Super easy. You just pull the tunnel, 5 plastic snaps on both sides. We've already had that off for the other video. And then the only thing that's a little tricky is how do you get the shift knob off, right? Well, that's also really easy. You literally just yank on it. It's rubber, it slides right off. I put 1 foot here, 1 foot there, yanked on it straight up, and it came off. Not super easy, very simple, but you have to yank on it pretty hard. So once that's off, you can drop your new gate on and bolt it in place with the two 10 millimeters. And voila, you're done. After installing this shift gate, I have noticed a slight issue with it. So you have some adjustment side to side of the shift gate, but not really front to back. And I could adjust the cable more. So you probably should look into adjusting your shift linkage after you change the shift gate, obviously. But going from neutral to reverse, see where the free play is? No issue there. It always registers reverse right away. But going from neutral to low, let's see if I'll do it for you. A couple times I've had it register a bar there. That means it's not quite shifting into low. And you can push this down hard, you can do whatever you want, and it's not going low. But if you go back to reverse and slam it into low, you usually get the L. So I'm gonna do to alleviate that is, I'm gonna open up the gate a little bit, trim it basically, so I can go a little bit farther down into low. Gonna look like crap, I have to scratch up anodizing, but if you hold it level with this, you can see that the stock shift gate let you go a little deeper into low. So I'm just gonna basically make that groove come down farther to meet it. Now, if you look at the reverse side of the stock shift gate, it is letting you go a little deeper into reverse. So I could adjust the cable, but I want that range in both directions because of the issues I've had. So I'm just gonna go ahead and trim the shift gate. Just something to be aware of if you're gonna install this. That might not be a perfect accessory. All right, I have ended it. So as you can see, I took a burr and did a pretty ugly job, cut into the L a little bit, but hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. I'd rather do that than miss a gear. You could also use a step drill bit like that. I use that to kind of polish it up. So now, when you go from reverse to low, if you do it real slow, you always get low. So let me do that even slower. So reverse, low, so reverse, neutral. That's actually high, but usually you go over here for high, right? Register's high. So reverse, neutral, high, real slow, low. Look at that, right into low range, because I'm actually going far enough to actually push it into low. And then once you get in low, you have the same free play in low as you do in reverse. So this shift gate is not perfect. If you buy it, plan on modifying it or find a better one. But they all look the same to me. I think they're just called copied each other. So another thing about this shift gate that I don't like is getting it centered side to side really matters. So you can see that the bracket is showing right here and not over here. But if you center it anywhere else, the bracket right here, which I'm touching, will block off this gate. So this shift gate right here, this idea, straight to reverse, reverse to low, high to low, high to reverse, is a great idea in concept. This is really poorly executed. This was a cheaper one, only 40 bucks. I hope someone does a better job, but I have a feeling they're all this shanky. You've got to have it positioned just right. And I also had to, modify it to get it into low range. So not a big fan of this thing. I got it to work, but it's not exactly direct bolt on. Also, the bolts, it didn't come with bolts, and the stock bolts are too short because the aluminum's so thick. So I had to put longer bolts in it. Just something to be aware of. I'll post a link for that in the description. One other little thing to update you on. So here's the air box all taken apart. This is your factory air filter. As you can see, mine's a little dirty already. And that's because I was hitting water at 40 miles an hour and it a little splashed into there. So I am going to redesign that intake a little bit. But this air filter just sits right here, separates the dirty side from the clean side of the airbox. Pretty nice setup. As you can see, I put a bunch of dielectric grease around here because this airbox relies on two very critical gaskets. One that seals the air filter to the back half of the airbox, and another gasket that seals that big lid over here, looks like a belt box cover, onto the airbox. Both those gaskets I say critical because they both, if either one of them fails, it could let sand into the clean side of the airbox and therefore into the motor. So those are two very, very critical gaskets. I like the way Honda did this and kept it separate and two-stage airbox and all that. You have two drains, a clean drain and a dirty drain, all that. I like all that. I just, these gaskets have got to be maintained in good order. So I put a bunch of dielectric grease on both of them to just increase the surface area of the gasket and make them a little more 100%, if that makes sense. Because I'm a little worried about those gaskets for the kind of stuff we do. But other than that, the Talon did awesome. 32-inch Aztecs, never had the clutch slip, never had the clutch temperature light came on, didn't overheat, never got above 2 bars actually. You do have to run splined lug nuts because these wheels don't really accept a 19mm lug very well. So those are just eBay M12 by 1.5 splined lugs. Had those already. But it did great. Not a whole lot of drop in performance going from the 28 to the 30. Obviously less wheel spin and doesn't rev out quite as fast, but because you have the ability to hold your gear longer, you don't need a clutch kit because you didn't just destroy your entire bike by putting bigger tires on it and now you can't get into your power range. So superior to a belt drive, so much more versatile. You don't have to retune the clutch every time you change tires, which for me is great because I have multiple sets of trail tires I'm going to run on it. So absolutely love the Talon. It did great. Suspension still performing awesome. Very forgiving, very good handling. One thing I will say is that these tires, because they have a lot of, the tread in the center is very vertical, your lateral stability even increases over stock. So stock, with these tires on it, it was a sideways machine. A couple times almost spun out. With these, it was more like on tracks, which depending on how aggressive you want to drive, I liked it sliding everywhere. But what do you expect? It's a big knobby mud tire. It still handled really, really well. But yeah, just a little update for you. 2 little mods I'm doing today. Well, I guess 3. I'm gonna seal it up a little better. I ordered a new air filter, and I'm gonna actually box in underneath the snorkel so water doesn't come in the cab, hit the seat, and kind of bounce into it. So there's a little piece of plastic underneath that will help almost make like a primary air box, a secondary air box, and then the clean side of the air box. So really want to be able to hammer this thing hard and not have any water splashing into my intake.